Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bipul Das. I work at Ohomai, and I've been part of the international team for over 17 years. And today it's not about me, but we have a wonderful panelists joining us today, and they're going to share more information about a very exciting programs around quantity surveying and engineering. So today we have a few people joining us as panelists. We have Ada Chen, who's the International Service Manager. She's behind the scenes, so she's here today. We also have Kavita Magason, who's the International Admissions Team Lead. So we are privileged to have her. And we got a wonderful three panelists from the engineering faculty, Rachel Beaton, Reza, and Emelina. I'll just allow them to introduce themselves quickly, and then we'll start the webinar. Thank you. Rachel?
Kia ora everyone. As Bipul said, my name is Rachel Beaton. I'm the academic lead here at Ohomai Institute of Technology. I look after the engineering level 6 programs and the construction level 6 programs, so the quantity surveying program that we're talking about today, but also the architecture, the land surveying, and the construction management programs. So I look forward to taking you through these fantastic programs, and I'm really happy to introduce you to two amazing tutors. Emelina, I'll pass you over to you.
Cool. Thank you, Rachel. Hello, everyone. Emelina May. I'm the quantity surveying department tutor, and I'm teaching in Ohomai. Apart from teaching, I'm also working in the industry as a registered quantity surveyor and leading a few industry organizations and have very close connections with the industry and to support our students to have the best theory and practice world in their quiver. Reza.
Kia ora, everyone. Thank you, Melina. This is Reza. I'm a senior academic staff member at Ohomai teaching mechanical engineering papers. And I'll be more than happy to share the information about our engineering program at Ohomai.
Thank you, team. I think without any further ado, we'll start the webinar. And just like to reiterate, if your colleagues cannot join us today, do not worry. We got this sorted. So we will record the webinar and we'll share all the information in the next day or two. So you won't be missing out. So don't need to take any screenshot. If you missed out anything, all the information will be sent out to you. So the engineering faculty is here to share more information. Please save your questions till the end, and we will have the opportunity to answer some of your questions today, so you get a better understanding. Over to you.
So, Melina.
Oh, cool. So I know that when we talk about quantity surveying course, and the first questions I often get asked is, what is a quantity surveyor? Or what we're normally talking about, like what is their job titles or what kind of role that they can go into. And what I want to disclose to you is a quantity surveyor is not actually could be defined in one right sentence, because we have many different ways to talk about it. For example, from our government New Zealand career website, they referring quantity surveyors are the one who managing finances for construction projects. And we have on the Google and said the role is to keep a close eye on the project finances and contractual relationships. And of course, we have some from industry, very specialized organizations such as New Zealand Institute of Quantity Surveyor. They see the quantity surveyor as a person who is responsible for figuring out just what is a construction project is going to cost. And we also have the Royal Institute of quantity surveyors, and the surveyor is an expert in the art of costing a building at all its stages. So you can have a sense of the quantity surveyors. It is looking at the cost perspective in the construction industry, but they are having much, much more professions to it other than just looking at the cost. And to figuring out the cost for the construction industries, they do lots of detailed works and focus on from the beginning to the end and the process, and to make sure the construction runs under their supervisions. Reza, can I ask you to go to the next slide? Okay, so I like to see that from the end of the product when you finish your programs, and that can give you a better ideas of what are the career paths out there for the quantity surveyors. As a quantity surveyor, there's not one pathway for you to do it, and there's many options. And just to name a few, you can working as an estimator, a project manager, a valuer, a contract manager, and consultant. And you could also working in very different sectors, such as residential sectors, commercial sectors, civil infrastructure sectors, which actually working closely with Reza and his students in the future with the engineering and with engineers in the very different disciplines. You can also working in the insurance space or banking, and there's a lot more other sectors that for you to explore. When you do the works, and regardless which sectors you're going to be in, and you can also choose your pathways of which disciplines you want to be specialized in. Some quantity surveyors want to be specialized in the subcontractors or just specialized trades such as plumbing and or HVAC or electrical. And some QSs that thinking they could be looking at a bit more overview, which they could end up in the main contractor. There are other quantity surveyors that like to be advised on the different parties and provide a good opinions and suggestions to a project. They could work in the consultant space. And of course, you can be on your client's team, or we say the principal's team, as a quantity surveyor. You could also pursue a higher education in quantity surveyor, and you don't have to only stop right there. As a quantity surveyor, it's a lifelong pursuing study and lifelong development if you are pursuing for either academic or practical. So there are other higher educations already available in the New Zealand education industry, such as construction economics. And when you finish that, you could become an economic focused specialist, or you can go through property development, and you can further to that, you can become a valuer, or you can focus on the project management and become a project manager. Or there's other pathways such as construction law, disputes resolutions specialists, and so on. So you can see that as a quantity surveyor, the opportunities is quite a lot, and you have many different pathways to choose that aligns with your passion. All right, so since I have talked about the career pathways and so many options that you can choose, you might want to know what is the current market looks like. Are QSs in the demand, or what the pipelines looks like in the future? So because QSs can work in so many disciplines and sectors, both buildings and infrastructures has very high demand for quantity surveyors. For example, in the infrastructure space, we have a very great pipelines in the Bay of Plenty region, as because the Bay of Plenty is the fifth growth in Tauranga. Tauranga and Bay of Plenty is the fifth growth, faster growth city in the whole region of New Zealand. And we have lots of significant infrastructure investment from the government to support us to go over and beyond and to develop further of our beautiful Bay of Plenty. And because of those high demand of the jobs, you could see that all the contractors or employers or the homeowners or any other disciplines in the market are seeking a skilled quantity surveyors, because quantity surveyors can help them to foresee the whole cost of the construction and to manage the process. They are very valuable to any different disciplines. And not to mention, because they're in a high demand, they actually have a very good compensation on that. A good experienced quantity surveyors could earn up to 170,000 per year. And this is the data actually posted in the last financial year. And not to mention that each year that we have a pay increase, which now that 170 per year could be much more than that. Thank you, Reza.
All right, so I guess I'll be taking over from here and talking about our engineering program. But before we start, I would say first, what is engineering and who are going to be engineers, basically. So the main components of being an engineer is when it's science, technology, and math. We're applying those rules to build and design things. Which includes machines, structure, and so on. So basically, the main job of an engineer is just to solve problems and, present the solution to the society. So they're making life easier for everyone else out there. At Ohomai, we are offering a New Zealand diploma in engineering, which I'll just give a brief introduction of what is New Zealand diploma in engineering. So NZDE is a 2-year full-time program, which has the options for part-time as well. It's 240 credits. Level 6 in New Zealand qualification framework. The aim of the program is to train engineering technicians specialized either in civil, electrical, electronics, mechanical, or fire engineering. And that is to make sure that New Zealand engineering sector will have enough qualified technicians. Now, at Ohomai, we're offering 3 different disciplines: mechanical engineering, civil, and electrical engineering, which I'll be briefly talking about these 3 programs and what will be the pretty much jobs out there for these 3 disciplines once they graduate. So basically, we'll start with mechanical engineering technician, not because I'm biased against mechanical engineering, because I'm a mechanical engineer, just because it just happens to be the first one. So once upon graduations, mechanical engineers will be mechanical engineering technicians. They'll have a very wide variety of jobs that they can do. Mostly, but not limited to the list down in here, they would do help mechanical engineers in designing machineries and product equipment, or they would just check the design and oversee the project and the planning of the engineers. They would do the estimation of the cost. They do the bills of materials and prepare drawings using softwares, and test and repair equipment and machines, and sometimes supervise and work with engineering staff in power station and manufacturing plants. So that's basically what they do. Now, talking about the actual jobs out there and what is the demand for it. From the career website of New Zealand, it says the job opportunities are good. And that is mainly due to an increase in infrastructure, manufacturing, and construction projects taking place in New Zealand, and also a shortage of workers in that area. So in the future, that demand seems to be increasing, and more engineering technicians are going to be needed in mechanical engineering field. So where they can end up working the areas, they could be in building and construction, they can be in aeronautics, they can be in manufacturing, product development, in the energy sector, water and wastewater, agriculture, aviation, boat building, and transport. These are all the discipline, the areas that they can start working, the industries that they can start working. But as I said, mechanical engineering is one of the traditional fields of engineering, which makes it very broad, and people can even work through bioengineering, firms and even more. So that's about mechanical engineering. I'd like to share a video in here that talks about one mechanical engineer who is now doing a job. So
I work at Wetherspoon Organic. We produce honey, and my role is the processing and the filtration of that honey, and also the fixing and maintenance of the packing line, which is semi-automated. So I studied mechanical engineering because I really enjoyed taking things apart as a kid, all that sort of stuff. I like the building and understanding how things work. My family's always been around like farming and outdoor stuff, but I'm kind of the first one to ever get into the engineering side of things and the building and making of stuff. The world is going to head towards a lot of automation of manual labour. Any easy tasks will just be done automatically. So it's the design and the control of that automation and the management of that automation, that's where the time and effort will be, that and the creative kind of arts. So when it comes to engineering, if you're working with machinery, you're working with automation and design and management of those machines and keeping those machines up and running. We buy local honey. Some of it comes from up north, but most of it's from central or upper South Island. We buy it off local apiaries and we bring it into our warehouse. From there we melt it out because it's all solidified. We melt it and then tip it into our tip tank and run it through our filtration skid. From there we pump it into our big tanks and we cream it so that it creates tiny crystals. And then it makes a smooth honey and will stay that way for a long time, so it's got a really long shelf life. We pump it into jars and label it and pack it into pallets, and then we ship it over to the States. I think engineering gives you a curiosity about the world, wanting to understand how things work, and from that curiosity it kind of inspires you to learn more.
So that was the video showing a real example of what a mechanical engineering can do as a job. So next I would be talking about civil engineering technicians. And so once graduated from the civil engineering program, they can start planning and designing the structure, such as roads, buildings, and bridges. They'll be able to create detailed drawing for structures using CAD softwares. They'll be able to prepare a construction plan, include budgeting, cost, and timetabling, and check the progress of civil engineering projects, supervise, maintain, and repair work. Also discuss the report designs, planning, and construction problems with engineers, direct, perform, and analyze field and laboratory testing of sites and materials, as well as consult with private clients, government agencies, or contractors and other professionals. Looking into the demand for the job, again, from the same New Zealand career website, it is predicted to be good. And the sectors that they will be working in, and the reason for this good job demand is because of the road, rail, and bridge maintenance and development, plus the river engineering and wastewater management projects that they are going and being increased by the government in the past, and it's projected to be continued in the future as well. Civil engineering technicians, they would be working either as a draft person or civil engineering technicians. They'll work for private engineering consultancies. They'll work for construction firms, for government agencies such as in the transport agency, or infrastructure and utility companies such as railways and electricity companies. These are where the in civil engineering technicians will end up working. Next is electrical engineering that we are also offering at Ohomai. And what would they do? They could be some or all of these ones, or even more. And they'll be understand and follow electrical plans and instructions. They would install, repair, test, and maintain test models of electrical systems, record data on testing techniques, equipment, and other works, as well as report finding and result to colleagues and clients, research new ways of solving electrical problems, outlining the material needed for work projects, and also calculate the cost. for the equipment needed. Again, that's creating bills of materials. Judge the condition of electrical equipment and ensure safety in design standards are met. And lastly, help design electrical installations and control circuits under the supervision of the engineers. So the job opportunities are out there for electrical engineers as well, and it's predicted to be very good. And that is due to an aging workforce with many electrical engineering technicians going to their retirements. The government investments in upgrading the national grid, the high voltage network that carries electricity around the country. New Zealand growing population, which means greater demand for new housing, commercial areas, and power generation equipment is the last reason for the very good job demand for electrical technicians. And the areas that our electrical graduates will end up working is electrical maintenance and contracting companies. They will be working for power generating companies, engineering firms, and the defense force. So the question is, why we are now saying study at Ohomai? Why Ohomai is a very good option. That is mainly because our students are learning their knowledge by doing and practicing. And that's what we promote, making sure that we will provide a hands-on experience for our students to be able to understand while they're doing things, not just through theory, not just through just reading books and things, but they would actually put their hands on when they are learning. That includes building the bridges or doing the laboratories or even testing testing equipment, testing the strength of different materials, or even going out there in the actual field through site visits. To provide that, we actually have a very well-equipped laboratories on campus. We have a very wide range of different software packages that our students are able to utilize and get their hand on, do their practice with those softwares. We also have a lot of equipment that we couldn't really actually have all of them pictured in here in one slide, but we've tried to fit as many as we could in this small space in here. We are connected closely with industry stakeholders. So in the pictures, you'll see the site visit to different industries. On the top left corner, we had a project going on with Tauranga Hospital, which we took our students to meet the actual client and understand what is the requirement in that project, which is on a biomedical theme kind of project. On the top left one, top right one, it's a civil students visiting a site, an engineering site, and you have down in here some beautiful pictures of us collaborating with industries. So Emelina, I will just hand back to you.
All right, so further than what we can offer as an institute, education institute, that we focus on the students' practice, and we connect very closely with industry, and we can provide them lots of opportunities that to have the taste not only to do theory but also practice. But further on that, we situated in the beautiful Bay of Plenty region, and our Windermere campus is based in Tauranga. And the good things that to study and live in Tauranga is the Tauranga first, I was mentioned earlier, is one of the New Zealand's fastest growing city and the fifth biggest city, and is on the rising, and it haven't been stopped ever since. And on the top photos that I show you here, actually at the two slides earlier where the students were doing their site visits, that was actually the same site that is showing on this photo. this is the new council building, and it's one of the biggest plan of the whole Tauranga city center regenerating and rebuild plan. And this is going to be an ongoing building plans which enrich and booming the whole construction industry from that point and beyond. And the project that you're looking at now is almost at the finishing point, and our students, actually from previous graduate students, has been working on that project and to make sure the project is on track and involved in this project. And the site visit that we're showing earlier were our current students actually standing inside this building to see how they turn from the plan to actual building. And we will be having the similar of experience to provide to our students in the future as the city keep booming on the construction activities. And not to mention that the Tauranga is well known for its beautiful, beautiful site. And we have lovely water, warm, and very safe environment. And it's a great city for very high quality lifestyles. So many people, when I mentioned about Tauranga as a city name, the first reaction they said, "Oh, it's such a beautiful place. I wish I can live there. I wish I can have a life there and enjoy my, all my times with my families and friends." So other than different than other cities that may focus on the economies or just on the job opportunities, Tauranga is a very well balanced place that you could have it all. You will have a lovely place to live, very safe place to enjoy all your times, and very good hard work for you to carry on with your career and pursue your passion, not only with quantity surveying, but also with engineering overall.
So I guess we'll hand it to Rachel now.
Wonderful. Thank you, team. And I couldn't agree more. Tauranga is the whole package. We didn't really introduce ourselves properly at the start. We're actually all migrants ourselves. We've all come from overseas, and we chose New Zealand as our place to live. I moved to Tauranga when I was much younger, during my early schooling days. I'm actually from Cyprus, and these guys will share a very similar story. So we chose Tauranga because of its lifestyle, because of its fantastic education, because of the growth. You're not feeling like you're stuck in one spot, which is really important, especially for career pathways. I can see a few questions pop up about entry requirements, so hopefully I'll answer them here, but please feel free to ask questions as you go, because I can see the question box open. Can we do the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So quantity surveying, entry criteria is quite similar to engineering when it comes to exactly the same when it comes to English. So I won't go through that again because I'm sure Ada has sent that all out to you. However, it's the math component that's quite important in both areas. Quantity surveying does have two pathways. So, for example, if a student has not successfully they've gone through to their second to last year, they did maths in that year, but then in their final year they had a different pathway. They may have gone into accounting or something like that. We can look at that as a prerequisite. The two things we're looking at is the English and the maths skills. Those are very important purely because there will be report writing, there will be opportunities to do oral presentations, and understanding technical literature, contracts, all those things. So that is why the English is quite important. The maths component is because you do have to apply calculations. You do need to be able to break down formulas and things like that. So what we've done here is, because for our domestic applicants, it's very clear pathway. We have the NCA level system. So that's the option A you see up there. Option B, we've said if you have maths in your final year that is aiming for 65% and above. If it's between 60 and 65%, we will still assess the application. We do look at them case by case. But if you don't have maths, we will look at accounting or potentially economics in quantity surveying space. So don't feel like there is a barrier there. There are also foundation courses available. If your potential student doesn't quite meet that criteria. So please reach out if you'd like to hear more about that. In engineering, same sort of criteria when it comes to math, but quite important here. I might get Reza to jump in with the level of maths and understanding. The important thing here is if they do get 65% and above, or 60 to 65% is probably the range we say, still send the application through. Even if they've been away from school for a year or so, or they've come out of school but they're not quite familiar with algebra or calculus or trigonometry or things like that, we do have a support system in place to support students through their journey. So don't let the applicants be turned away or put off if they think their math skills aren't quite there, because ideally we would like to see a student come through with about 80% score, because that means they understand maths really well. But for any student, we will offer support. There is ample support available. We have face-to-face tutorials, obviously, but we've also got a learning support team where they can book in as many one-on-one sessions with another engineer to break down the questions in another way. Okay, so we do take you through that. I'm just keeping an eye on. Perfect. There is another question here about pathways, essentially. At the moment, Ohomai is not offering the bachelor's. However, we are looking at doing so. So hopefully if, say they enroll in 2025, by the time they get to their final year of the diploma, there'll be a firm pathway into the degree. However, it's really, really great to be able to say that in an engineering space, it does overlap with the Bachelor of Engineering Technology, so the BenchTech. So that means if a student completes their diploma, they can go on to further study. We are hoping that that further study will be with Ohomai, but it might be with one of our institutes in the surrounding area. But it does mean that if they would like to carry on the study, they can. All right. Just looking at the questions here. Might have to get, I'm just looking through the questions, sorry. There's a lot coming through, might need to leave them to the end. So more around the support. Ohomai is a fantastic place when it comes around to the wraparound support. There is so much support for our international students. Okay, my role here at Ohomai is to make sure that we're monitoring from the background, Okay, so if a tutor is worried about a student in any way, they'll highlight it to me. Okay, so we are actively working in the background to make sure that every student has got the support they need. There is learning support in a sense where there is a whole separate team that the students can book with at any time to help with, I've talked about math support, but it's also report writing support. It might be Excel support. It might be that they need some more confidence building in for when they go out to interview. So they have opportunities to sit down with our careers and employability team where they can have help writing their cover letter or their CV or practice with an interview. Just think if there's anything else I've missed. We've got everything from haircuts to nurse, seeing a nurse or a doctor or a physio on site. So they really do have amazing support, and we have a kind of an open door policy where they can make a time to come see us anytime they want to talk about any sort of situation that might be preventing their progression here. Okay, next slide, please. So how is the course structured? Sorry, next slide again, Reza. So quantity surveying, it is a 2-year full-time course, as Emelina introduced at the start. It's made up of 16 15 credit courses. And here at Ohomai and most institutes, we have 2 semesters a year, one that starts in February that goes to the end of June, and another one that starts from July and goes to the end of November. So they do get a 2-week break in between for every semester, then a 3-week break in the middle before the next one starts, and then again they'll have a 2-week break before the big long summer break. If they are full-time, they will be doing 4 courses at one time. They will be having to follow a pathway that we suggest, because obviously each course builds on the other one. So if they need to come back to a course, we'll obviously help them navigate that. For quantity surveying at the moment, for every course they're doing, there'll be a 2-hour face-to-face lecture or that face-to-face lecture might be a field trip onto a site. It might be a guest speaking opportunity where we invite someone from industry to come talk to our students. It might be a practical lab. For example, just over here, we had the civil and mechanical engineering actually building bridges themselves in teams. And then once the bridges are complete, they'll actually go and test those together. So there's a lot of collaboration between students, which is awesome. Or there might be self-directed learning. So this is where we use our Moodle platform and we will actually load some work for them to complete. So it is a real nice mixture. They will be on campus 4 days a week. Usually our timetables from 9 to about 2:30. And just looking at the engineering, again, same sort of 2 semesters a year. Still, they've got to get through 16 courses in total over those 2 years. But our timetable is structured slightly differently. Now, the reason we do this is so students have more time in industry or to do what they need to do outside of face-to-face delivery. So for every course they do, it will be a 4-hour lesson. And this is obviously broken into lab work or site visits or something like that. So it's not just 4 hours of straight theory being delivered. So we do make sure we break it up to make sure that they're engaged. And what we do, apart from the first 6 months where they go through the common courses we talked about, which is the engineering maths, for example, after the first semester, they will only be on campus 2 days a week. The first 6 months, they'll be on campus 3 days a week. Okay. And again, similar sort of lesson experience where will be a mixture of in class, in the field with, practical elements. For example, in civil engineering, they might be out in the campus with total stations measuring, doing spot levels around there. Assessment methods, quantity surveying is all, we call it a portfolio. So it's portfolio of assessments. So there might be in-class tests, but there are no external exams. Engineering is going to be a mixture of practical labs, in-class tests, assessments, but there is also an external and internal exam component that they will experience for at least half their courses. Okay, so this is an exam or a test where they sit in a room and they do the final test at the end. Next slide, Reza. Perfect. So this is where we're going to come into questions, which I think Ada is working hard in the background to navigate. There we go. Perfect. I'll hand it over to you, Bipul, to share.
Awesome. Thank you very much, team. I learned a lot, so thank you for the information. And again, it's not about only being a student; it's about being able to enjoy the beautiful city we live in. I personally love Tauranga. I live in Rotorua, but any chance I get, I go there and enjoy the beach or the outdoors. So it's a great place to live and study. All right, so we have some really good questions coming up, and Rachel did answer some of them, but let's go through one by one so we can answer them. And so feel free to type your questions in the Q&A tab, and we will get to it. All right, so the first question here is from Deepa, which is, if a student has studied bachelor's, can he apply for the diploma in quantity surveying? Rachel?
Yes, so this is another pathway option. We do have students that may have had a different pathway in their schooling years. If they've gone on to do a diploma or a bachelor, that is proving that they have done well in a tertiary setting. So yes, that is a pathway into our program.
Great, thank you. We do have same questions popping up again about the post-study work rights. Our understanding, we are not Immigration New Zealand, but what our understanding is, yes, you may be able to apply for post-study work rights if you do a 2 years diploma in engineering or quantity surveying, if it's on the green list. And so once you complete your studies, you need to be working in the same field of work as you've completed your studies in. So it's not a open job search or post-study work rights. So you will be having the opportunity to stay back, but you need to be working for an employer who's giving a job in that same field. But please check with Immigration New Zealand to be 100% sure. But again, as Emelina and the team has mentioned, if you do this qualification, if you got the right work ethics, good communication skills, and you're reliable, employers are looking for people like you. So please make sure that when you talk to students, you manage the expectation. You set the expectation right before they come here. So getting a tick in the qualification does not automatically give you a job. There are other soft skills and technical skills and the networking skills, which is very important to secure a job in New Zealand. All right, so moving on to the next question. Aladi is asking here, could you please let me know the options that is applicable in bachelor's and master's? So the question here, if I understand right, is do we have a high level qualification apart from a diploma or
In
yeah,
this specific
in the
field.
specific
So
field?
I think I partially answered that before with the
Right.
pathways into the degrees. We also, it's worth noting that we have an agreement with, say, Waikato University, where if a student decides to carry on, they would like to actually go get their Bachelor of Engineering with honours. We have a pathway where at the moment it's about 120 credits will be guaranteed if they're a B plus and above student. Okay, when it comes to masters, absolutely there are possibilities when you go through to the degree option. At the moment, it's not with Te Ohomai, but there will be with some other institutes available.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. So Jyoti is asking here, are we flexible for the academic requirements?
So we have added flexibility where we are saying, you know, if they've got maths, which is 65%, if they don't have the math component, they can provide evidence where they've demonstrated math. So like in accounting, like in economics. If they don't have this, it is an option for them to demonstrate how they have gained this in another direction. Like I said, with every application does come through myself as well and the team. So we can look at case by case if needed. So if you have a student that you know have strong skills in this area and we can provide evidence and say this is the pathway they took, then yes, absolutely. There are other options.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel. Garima is asking here, after 10th, after the secondary schooling,
Yeah.
if you haven't taken higher secondary, is a 3-year diploma acceptable? So if you've done a secondary school and you go for a 3 years diploma after that, can you still apply for this qualification?
Yes, absolutely. So we do assess these quite often, where students have gone on to do a diploma, and quite often it is in the same field, like they may have done a diploma in mechanical engineering, and so that is a very good option to pathway into ours because they've got that foundational knowledge. If it is a area that is not in line with what they're wanting to study, we'll still look at it as an option because again, it is proving that work ethic. It is looking for areas that do overlap with math skills and English skills. Okay, so most diplomas will have papers that include these areas that we're looking for. So it will be case by case, but if you're not sure, send it through.
Awesome. Right. Are we having any scholarships for the international students? Probably I can answer that.
Yeah.
Right. So at the moment we don't. So our fees is standardized for NZIST, which is also known as Tipukenga. So we already set the fees for 2025. We do not have any scholarships at this stage. So student needs to be funds ready and motivated when they apply to us. So, and they do get it. It's a good investment for the future. I think let's put it in that way.
Purple, can I add on that one too,
Yes,
please?
please.
How although we don't have a scholarship, but we had study grants are available for international students from Pacific, Southeast Asia, and Latin America. So I'm going to put a note on the chat box so you can see the information there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ada. So yeah, we have a study grant. So I need to reiterate that. So Ada will share the information and you can see the criteria behind it. All right. So Neelam is asking here, are this, okay, I think we all already answered that around post-study work rights. So Garima again, how many backlogs accepted? Also applicant with higher secondary from open schooling, NOIS, are they eligible? So my understanding of backlogs is if you already doing your higher secondary school and you haven't completed some of the papers and you're repeating those papers. So if you already completed higher secondary, but you have a backlog and you're repeating it and you passed it, is it acceptable, Rachel? Like if they already completed the higher secondary school?
But they're having to repeat certain papers.
Yeah,
Is
they had to
that the
repeat
question?
certain papers and they did not get it in the first instance.
It depends on, I guess, because it's similar with domestic students here that sometimes they apply and they haven't quite completed their program of study. So I'm not sure how it works in international space, but we can give conditional offers. So if they can prove that, say the backlog is to go back and complete a math paper, and that's what we need to allow you into the program, then yes, we could review it and it could be a conditional offer. Is that how it works in international people, where you can say yes, but you need to provide evidence of passing this?
I think they need to pass the higher secondary school. That's the
Yeah.
minimum expectation for the entry requirement. Again, it could be challenging if the student hasn't succeeded in the first instance and they have to repeat it. So we just want to make sure that they academically ready to come
Yeah.
and study here.
It would
So if
need.
they're already struggling in the home country and repeating the papers,
Mm,
probably they need to be ready to come here and take up a higher level studies in a foreign country. So
yeah,
it
it
could be
is a tricky
challenging for
one, isn't
them.
it?
Right.
Yeah.
So, but again, we can look into it case by case. So if you have an application, please share with us.
Yeah.
All right. So we have, right. If a student has completed the diploma on EEE, I'm not sure what E stands for, can they join the bachelor's program? And if you have any credit points to the direct master's?
So I'm
Again,
assuming
yeah.
that's electrical engineering,
Okay.
something. Sorry, excuse my guess of work there. At the moment, there's no direct pathway. My understanding is the diploma level 6 is slightly different level to the diploma potentially that they've completed. If a student has completed something very similar, keeping in mind that the diplomas we deliver is very specific to New Zealand legislation and compliance, but there is opportunity if they've completed something at the same level. So it has to be the same level. It can't be 2 layers lower or 1 layer. There is opportunity to get recognition of prior learning. For a bachelor's, it is more difficult to do so. But there is always possibility of asking that question, if I have done this, if it's the same level. We have had students who have completed a bachelor's in their home country and they are going through the process of getting recognition for some of the papers that overlap with our courses, which do go into the bachelor's. Okay. So I hope it's not a definitive answer, sorry, but I hope that helps.
Thank you, Rachel. Now we have a question from our friend Mr. Joel Langan from the Philippines. Hello, Mr. Joel. Will the students have the opportunity to do actual industry internship? And if yes, at which semester do they get the opportunity?
So it is a very cool place at the moment. So there is no requirement for students to go into industry and do a certain amount of hours like the apprenticeship model. However, we do have industry contacting us quite regularly. For example, we just had a big provider called WSP who contacted us just 2 days ago to say, look, we've got these internships open. They are on offer for international students as well, where they will go into employment and they actually get supported through their diploma. We also have people reach out and say, hey, look, I've got this work experience opportunity. It's 1 day a week. It gets them into the office. So we build those connections. It is not a requirement. And like Bipul said before, it does come down to the student's confidence and putting themselves out there, because it's not an opportunity where we say, here's a position, go for it. We say this is the opportunity available, and we get the student to be proactive and they reach out with their CV or cover letter to introduce themselves. They'll get invited to come speak directly to the employer, and then they have the opportunity from them. We also have a really cool space where we call it speed interviews, where students have, it's a networking opportunity. So it's in a room. This year it was here on Ohomai campus, hosted by Emelina and NZIQS, which is a key industry stakeholder of ours. And students have the opportunity of going around the room and meeting a whole pile of industry providers. And just from that conversation, if they come across as, quite, it's great for the students to get that experience. But some of our students were actually approached afterwards and said, hey, look, you actually sound like a perfect fit for what we're looking for. And some students have actually got roles because of it. So it's a really good space where we provide opportunities, but it is up to the student to take up those opportunities.
Great. Thank you, Rachel.
Perfect.
We have a question here again from Aladi.
Yeah.
Would you like to know the stay back option for the bachelor's 2 years program? I can answer that. So, as for immigration settings, you need to be studying a bachelor's. If it's for 3 years, then as per the current settings, you may be able to get 3 years post-study work rights. But I believe, again, talk to immigration. If it's a 2 years bachelor's degree, I think the post-study work rights would mirror the duration of your studies. So if it's 2 years, then possibly it could be 2 years for the post-study work rights. But please check with immigration, just to be sure. All right, so we have the next question from Deepa, which is around, do we have any specialization for bachelor's degree, or you will be still looking for maths and English as academic requirement?
It will still 100% be a requirement to get into the program. The way the Bachelor of Engineering Technology works is they go into the diploma first, so still the same entry criteria, and then you would then naturally go into the pathway of you'd reapply and you'd go into the final year. And because you've had that study with us, we can support that application. So if it's not with Ohomai, because we're not offering it in that time, we hope to be, we can help with a letter to provide confidence of their work ethic and everything like that.
Perfect. Thank you, Rachel.
Sorry.
So we have a question here from Hardik. Hi, Hardik. What is the placement surety from the campus? Like, is there a guarantee that the students will get the job at the end of the qualification?
Oh, job security. So I read that as campus security.
Right.
So placement from an employment, it's just like with our domestic students, it's not a given. It really does come down. We give all the students the tools they can to be able to get a job out of it. So we offer the careers and employability. Tutors will help put out job opportunities and hope that students will go for it. There is a huge amount of growth in Tauranga, so there are many, many opportunities, but it will be up to the student to actually get themselves out there. So we do our best to best prepare them for industry. We do bring in a lot of industry guest speakers to introduce their company, but it does come down to the student going to the interview and presenting themselves well.
Right. We have a question here from New Zealand Gateway, a business partner in India. And the question is again around how many backlogs are accepted. So again, just to reiterate, it's a case-by-case situation. We would rather prefer the students to be academically ready and then apply for this qualification. So if they already completed the higher secondary school and that's in the specific stream like maths and science, then and they got the English requirement already met, then they may apply for this qualification. Because we also want to make sure that when you put the application to Immigration New Zealand, they're bona fide. They should be looking at the overall application and saying, yes, the student has met the requirements, is ready to take the qualification, and then there's a better chances of getting the visa approval. So we leave it in your good hands. I'm sure experts in what you do. So please be selective in the students for each program you're sending to Ohomai, which is very important. All right, so we have a question here from Sajil, and if the question is around if the applicant is from the law background but has got 4 and 5 years experience in construction sector, will you accept them?
I'm assuming they're talking about the quantity surveying program. And yes, absolutely. It's that case by case where we look at their prior knowledge. their prior experience, and in this case, they have been working in a construction sector that's very specific to the qualification. I think in these instances, they would have to provide evidence of that. So an attestation from their employer of their work ethic, that they did have that role for that period and what their role was. So yes, with evidence, it would be evidence-based and case by case, obviously.
All right. I just missed a question before that. The question is around, can the students bring their spouse or partners while studying? Again, it depends on the immigration settings. Our understanding is masters, yes, PhD, yes, but diploma level qualification, highly unlikely. So again, I believe it's a no. According to the immigration instruction, but please, Ada has shared the link for immigration. Please check with on their website to get the right information. Right, we have this question from Neelam is around if they got a gap, like they haven't done anything after the higher secondary year 12, can they be accepted? Yeah, Rachel.
Yeah, so I keep saying case by case because it is always, we do look at every application. If they've had a gap, we obviously still look at the final year to see how they performed academically. If it's been quite a significant gap year, we will ask to see what the student's been doing in the meantime, because that could also support their application with us. So it's always good that if there is a gap, give us a summary of what they've been doing and why. Why now?
That makes sense. Thanks, Rachel. So just getting to the end of it, and we're doing really good for time. So well done, guys. So we have a question from Deepa, which is, if a student has completed a Bachelor in Commerce in accounting, can he or she can apply for quantity surveying?
Yes, absolutely. That would be, again, looking at prior learning. Bachelor of Commerce, it would easily fit the math component and English component there. Obviously, you still need to go down the normal testing for English, but it would meet our criteria.
Has been met. Awesome. Great. Thank you, Rachel, for confirming that. All right. So that's it.
We're
You
good.
don't
We've
have
done
any
well.
more questions. So we've done really well. I think I just need to congratulate the team and also say thank you for sharing a lot of good information, because we all need to know. We need to know so that we can inform our future students the correct pathway, the correct entry requirements, what to do, and what, most importantly, what not to do when they come here. And we're going to look after them. I think we got a great team, and we will make sure that they got the right environment for the studies, they're having fun, they're safe, and they're job ready. When they go and look for jobs, the employer should be happy to say, yes, I want a student from Ohomai because the qualification has been taught in the right environment. So that is what's happening now. So you can confidently send your students to us, and they need to do their part to be successful. All right. So I think we're doing good for time. We should not. I'm sure you're busy with your own daily activities, and a lot of students might be waiting for you. So we'll let you carry on with your work. Before we end, again, a big round of applause and appreciation for our panelists for sharing the time and giving a lot of information, but also a big appreciation to all of you for joining us today, because without you, you're nothing. We want your support, and we really appreciate you sharing your time today to learn more about our programs. This is not the end of it. We'll be doing more webinars in the future. But again, as Ada has said, we will be sharing the information via email, hopefully by tomorrow. So you can share with your colleagues and the counselors to give the right information to students. Any last words from the panelists before we end the webinar?
Not from me, but I just really appreciate everyone's time, and it's really fantastic to see such a good turnout. Just like Bipul said, if you've got any questions or an area that we need to provide more information about, please let us know. We are developing material as we go. You'll see some of the brochures being sent out tomorrow. But if there is something that would help us kind of explain it better to your prospective students, just reach out. It's a very easy fix. But I want to also say thank you to Reza and Melina. You guys are fantastic. I am very lucky to have an amazing team to work with, and they look after the students very well. And obviously the international team.
Thank you. Again, the last slide says it all. Let's do great things together. So we cannot do it alone. So let's go forward, join the Waka and go forward. As long as we move forward, we're doing great things. The world is a great place to live. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. I wish you a very good day ahead and stay safe. And we will share more information. Kakite. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.